This is a surveillance head that can shoot ghosts. Just connect it to your phone. Then you can actually see ghosts. The
Open the door.
story begins with a woman who had just moved house. She was shopping at the supermarket and bought a Halo surveillance head for a large sum of money after a sales pitch, as she had just paid her rent. The family didn't have much in the way of savings. Her husband Roy said she was wasting her money, but they loved each other well enough, and the woman was honest about it. She said that 20 years ago her parents had opened the door to the house because they didn't know what was going on outside. That's what led to them having their throats brutally slit. This incident has left a psychological shadow on her. That's why she decided to buy this Halo surveillance head. Roy couldn't say anything else when he saw this. He also reassured the woman that everything would be fine. But what they didn't know was that something weird was about to happen to them. The next day, Roy set up the Halo monitor head and went to work, leaving the woman alone to work at home. Suddenly, alerts from the surveillance head kept appearing on her phone. Impatiently, the woman picks it up and looks at it. There was nothing outside the house. Could it be the quality of the Halo monitor head? She had spent so much money on it. The woman was not sure, so she opens the door and checks. Is anyone there? But it was just a raccoon rummaging through the rubbish. It almost scared her to death. But just as she thought it was alright and was about to wash up and go to bed, the alarm came back from the monitor. The woman opened it and saw there was a skinny, bony old man standing at the door. What the hell is going on? How did he know her name? The woman asks him what he wants, but the old man said he wanted to see her, and kept urging her to open the door. Of course the woman refused. She shouted at him to get lost, otherwise she would have to call the police. But the old man refused to leave. He wanted to come in and see her.
Please, hold that here. Please.
I'm calling the cops right now!
Open that door for me.
This old man is such a pervert, trying to enter a woman's home at night. No matter how much the woman tried to resist, he wouldn't leave. By the time her husband Roy arrived home, the police were already investigating and taking evidence. But what the woman couldn't accept was that the police had pulled all the CCTV cameras around the house and found that no one had come to her house at all. There was no attempted break-in. As she claimed, the surveillance heads and memory cards were all in order. They suspected that the woman had fallen asleep and had dreamt it. Even her husband thought she hadn't had enough rest. The woman was at a loss for words. Had she seen a ghost? She had no choice but to accept the police's explanation. Back at home, the woman kept explaining to her husband that she hadn't had a nightmare. The surveillance camera had really caught the man, and that he was banging on the door trying to get in. But her husband still didn't believe her. He would only reassure her that she would be fine. And that's when the alarm came again from the monitor. The woman picks up her phone and is instantly dumbfounded. The creepy old man was at it again. She hurriedly handed the phone to her husband. What?
Oh, shit. That's really him?
What's my dream?
Okay. All right. Hey, man. What are you doing here? What do you want?
Roy asks him what he's doing here, but the old man opens the door directly to the woman. He calls her honey in front of Roy. This pissed Roy off completely. He immediately grabbed his weapon and went out to fight. The woman hurriedly shouted for Roy to calm down. After all, what was standing outside is most likely not human. Roy was also a bit scared when he heard that. He called his neighbor across the street. He asked him to check his door to see if anyone was there, but the neighbor looked and saw there was no one at the door. Now the two of them finally confirmed. The old man in the surveillance head was indeed a ghost. Just when they were at a loss for words, the old man disappeared in a strange way. Roy hurriedly opened the door to check. There was nothing out there. There was not even a hair on the ground. He looked back at the surveillance head. Immediately, he figured out what was going on. He told his wife it wasn't a ghost. They'd only seen it on the software. In reality, there wasn't even a hair on the ground. Most likely someone had hacked into the surveillance head system, or someone was playing a prank. Maybe there's an example online by now. The next day, the woman did see the same thing on the internet, but she had a feeling she'd seen the old man somewhere before. The woman suddenly remembered. When she was in high school, there was this old caretaker at school. He was always mumbling to himself and going crazy. All the students laughed at him. She was the only one who treated the old man politely. But from that day on, the strange old man was always sending her gifts and love letters. Then he disappeared for no apparent reason, although she couldn't remember what he looked like, but it was probably the same old man. To find out if he was the same person, the woman investigates the house of the caretaker's sister. She found out from his sister he had been gone for many years. She didn't know where he'd gone, but the only photo of him was still in the house. The truth finally came out. The sick old man was the school caretaker, but there was no point in knowing who he was.